I confess, I cheated on my wife with her knowledge. My husband and I were married for 10 years. It was a second marriage for both of us. We both divorced for the same reason. Our spouses were addicted, his to alcohol and mine to pot. Our divorce agreements originally called for 50-50 custody, but after a year, the kids realized they were better off with us. We had to merge our families. It wasn't easy, but in the end, we all bonded. I was 42 years old. My husband was 47. We had just entered the empty nest phase, and we loved it. The house was clean, nothing was lost, fewer things were broken. We could and wanted to go out more. When we divorced, our married friends kind of slowly faded away. We both had similar experiences. At first, they would invite us out with them, but after a while, we stopped getting invitations. It's hard in a way. You're not just divorcing your spouse, you're divorcing an entire lifestyle. Your married friends felt uncomfortable around you. I was 32, 5'10", 130 pounds, long dark hair. No one wanted me around their husbands. I understood why. They flirted with me, sometimes a little too much. Now, at 42, semi-regular visits to the gym have kept my figure intact. My hair had gotten shorter. It now came down between my shoulder blades instead of down to the middle of my back, but now I was married. My husband went through the same thing. In his case, the wives didn't want their husbands to socialize with a single guy. At 5 feet 6 inches tall, dark hair and green eyes, he was being chased by divorcees. When we got married, we set a goal to make new friends. In some ways, it was difficult. Our old friendships, like most people with young children, were built around the parents of the children our kids went to school with. These people had already moved on from us, and we felt a little uncomfortable around our new spouses. To make friends, we joined social groups on Meetup. It worked. We built a network of people we liked. One couple we met was John and Allison. We weren't close to them. They were at least 10 years younger than us. John was too loud for us. Allison was a very pretty, sweet, and shy girl. She was 32 years old, a little over 6 feet tall, and weighed about 100 pounds. She had beautiful natural blonde hair cut into a cute pixie. We often struck up a conversation with her while John ignored her. A few months after we met, Allison showed up alone at an event. Usually there were couples at these events, so this was unusual. Allison usually gravitated toward us. We asked where John was. Turns out John left her for another woman. Well, sort of. John had put another woman in the house. They weren't ashamed of it. He was having sex with her in front of Allison, telling Allison that she should join in. Allison would retreat to the bedroom when this happened, but it made her a prisoner in his house. Allison had already hired a lawyer, but she didn't have a place to live yet. Her family was too far away and her job was in the city. She was still living in a house with her soon-to-be ex and his girlfriend. Since John knew what was in store for him, he had already hired a lawyer and frozen their accounts. It would be a few weeks before she could save enough money for a deposit and the first month's rent on the apartment. Allison went off to chat with the others. We reminisced about how our social circle had disappeared after the divorce. After a while, I said, "We have a place. We could take her for a couple weeks." My husband said it was fine with him. I trust him completely, so I had no problem with her being in the house. We approached Allison with our offer. It was obvious that she wanted to accept, but thought she was being imposed upon. She declined, saying she didn't want to be a burden. My husband left, leaving me to talk to Allison alone. I told her that the kids were in school, so we had plenty of room. I told her about our experience with friends after the divorce and wanted her to know she could count on us. She gave me a hug and thanked me. We agreed that she would pack up and move the next day. My husband saw the hug, figured we had it all worked out, and came back. She looked at him shyly, promised not to be a burden, and thanked him. He assured her that she was not a burden. The next day, after dinner, Allison showed up with 3 suitcases. I helped her unpack. By the time we finished, it was about 9 o'clock. Allison said she was tired and asked if we minded if she went to bed. We said she didn't need to ask permission and that she could come and go whenever she wanted. She also has the kitchen and all the dishwashers at her disposal. We told her to save up until she could afford the housing she needed. She hugged me again and went to her room. She came out about a minute later. She called out to me. "I forgot something for sleep," she said shyly. I told her not to worry and asked if I could borrow a t-shirt. She said it would be fine. I went and got 3 of my husband's old t-shirts. Since she was so small, they would fit her like a dress. Well, a very short dress. Allison was no problem at all. She cleaned up after herself and even cleaned up after us. If she was home, she cooked. We listened to her reasoning and gave advice when we were asked. Mostly we listened. Before going to bed, she often said, "Thank you for being there." In the evening, she would often sit with us on the couch, watching TV or chatting on her iPad. She usually sat next to me. Twice she fell asleep on my shoulder. When I woke her up, she smiled shyly and apologized. I told her there was no need to apologize. We all need hugs when we are stressed. The few times we went out, we took her with us and made sure to include her. We didn't want her to feel like a third extra. One night we went for a walk without her. When we got home, she was asleep on the couch. She was wearing one of my husband's t-shirts. It was snug around her waist. She was wearing a cute white lace bikini panties. My husband went to get a blanket and covered her up. The next morning, Allison caught me in the kitchen. "I'm so sorry I fell asleep on the couch." "Why? It's where you live." "It's okay to fall asleep on the couch," I replied. "Thank you," Allison said. Then in a very timid voice, "I didn't have a blanket on when I fell asleep." I told her that her husband had tucked her in. She looked a little embarrassed. "Oh," she said. "Relax," I said. "Your t-shirt was around your waist, you were wearing adorable panties, and you looked really cute." "Oh my God," she said. "I didn't want your husband to see me like that. I'm so sorry." She looked panicked. "Allison, it's not a big deal. He's seen a lot of women in his life. You needed a blanket. He gave you one." "Okay," she said. "But you looked really cute," I added with a smile. We both laughed. That night, my husband and I watched TV. Allison came out of her room in one of her t-shirts, said hello, and headed into the kitchen to get a Coke. We watched her walk by. The t-shirt barely covered her body, and we could see a glimpse of her panties as she walked. Nothing indecent. In fact, she probably didn't know we could see it. Coming out of the kitchen, she asked what we were looking at. I told her. She asked if she could join us. Usually by this time, we were already undressed for the night. I was wearing a ribbed pink tank top and my favorite shorts made from the cut-off legs of sweatpants. I didn't always wear the same top. The shorts, on the other hand, I wore most of the time. I had 4 identical pairs. My husband usually wore a soft cotton t-shirt and workout shorts. Neither of us looked sexy. It's comfort. We said sure, she could join us. She took a seat on the couch next to me. She tucked her knees under her. Her t-shirt slid up, exposing her panties. She blushed and quickly pulled it over her knees. She leaned back against me again as we watched. After about 2 weeks, she became very comfortable walking around in long t-shirts. I don't think she really knew how little they covered, but she was cute, and it turned my husband on a little. He's a good man. What's wrong with a little excitement? Actually, admittedly, I liked watching her too. Things were pretty calm and normal until Friday night. It started with a little joke. We were going out to dinner. We asked Allison if she wanted to go. As usual, she said she didn't want to be the third extra. I insisted. She asked about my husband. I said, "What guy wouldn't want to be seen with 2 sexy women?" She shook her head. I have no idea the last time I felt sexy. "Oh well," I said. "Let us cheer you up." Actually, that sounded like fun. I hadn't played dress-up with other girls since I was a teenager, and now here we were, 2 grown women, going through clothes together and deciding what to wear. We started in her room. We created 3 piles. 1, too plain. 2, probably appropriate. 3, my husband would be thrilled if she wore this. Then we went to my room and did the same thing. Then we each took 3 stacks of both items, put them on the bed, next to each other, and started deciding what we would wear. We were laughing and having fun. We kept ridiculing each other to try on something more daring. She ended up wearing a short black dress that clung to every inch of her skin. It ended 2 inches below her hips. "How about this?" she said. I looked. "I can see the lines of your thong through the material." She reached under her dress, disentangled herself from her panties, then asked, "Is that better?" We both giggled. I chose the dark green dress. It was low cut and would show off a lot of cleavage, not that I had a lot of it. "Wait a minute," I said. I reached into a drawer and pulled out a nice thong and a push-up bra. While she watched, I undressed and put them on. Then I put the dress on. I looked sexy. My husband was due home any minute. He knew we were going on a date. He just didn't realize how hot the girls he was going out with were. He walked through the door and stopped. We both posed in the living room. "Don't move," he said. When he came back, he had a camera. He's a bit of an amateur photographer. We had fun posing and taking pictures. We kept teasing him that the more he took pictures of us, the bigger our appetites would be when we went to dinner. He said he didn't care, that it would be worth any money as long as he was seen with 2 such sexy women. Then I remembered that Allison wasn't wearing any panties. Given the way we posed and moved, I'm sure my husband noticed and captured it in the photos. In fact, I had seen her dress tugged up a little bit on several occasions myself. He finished taking pictures and ran upstairs to change. We grabbed the camera to see how they turned out. "Oh my God," Allison said. "You can see my body in that picture." I laughed. "Yeah, but at least it's a pretty body." She slapped my arm. There were about 4 that showed everything and 5 where the dress slid up and showed her body. "Do you want me to remove them?" I asked. "He's your husband," she replied. "If you don't mind him seeing them, no. He's a good guy, and I trust him." I thought about how I really wanted my husband to have pictures of another girl. I realized that it didn't bother me. He was a good man. I was confident in our love. If he saw a picture of a woman or a painting, I wouldn't care. So why should I care about it? "I don't," I said. "He's a good man and you're beautiful. Let him get his high." She laughed and said, "As if being alone together on the street wasn't exciting enough." We chatted and laughed as my husband came downstairs dressed for dinner. He looked good. Whatever cologne he used, he smelled nice. We got into the car. Allison climbed into the middle seat in the back so she could talk to us more comfortably. If I turned to look at her, I was right under her dress. I doubt my husband had the same view. We parked, and my husband, like a gentleman, opened the doors and helped us out of the car. Allison's dress had half slipped down. She quickly pulled it down and apologized. My husband said, "Don't worry, you look great." We headed to the restaurant. We had a reservation and were seated almost immediately. We had a corner booth with a bench against each wall. My husband slid into the corner. I sat on the other side next to him. Amy sat on the other side from my husband. There is nothing unusual about seating boys and girls in restaurants. I only noticed it because at home she usually sat next to me. We had a great dinner, laughing and talking. Allison told us she had found a great place, but it wouldn't be available for 4 weeks. She said she might move in with a work friend before then. We told her that was silly and she could stay with us. She thanked us for being so kind and nice to her. At one point in the conversation, I whispered to my husband, "How far that dress has slipped." He whispered back, "She has a nice body if that's what you mean." I kissed his ear and said, "Pig." He laughed. We paid the bill and headed home. It was a fun evening. My husband and I headed to our room. I started to unzip my dress. My husband said, "Stop." "Stop?" I asked. "Why?" "I've been looking at the body all night, but it's not the one I love. I want it." I loved it. I knew he was mine. It's nice when he tells you that. However, I was still enjoying it. Oh, so another woman turns you on, and you think you'll satisfy your attraction with me? He smiled. Lift up your dress, he said. He lifted it slightly over my hips. That's it, I teased. Lift it up, he said. I pulled it on over my panties. I pouted my lips and said, but I'm wearing panties. Take them off, he said. I took hold of the sides and slowly lowered them to my hips. Now he was looking at me naked. That's what you want, I teased. Almost, he said. He led me over to the bed and gently pushed me face down on it. Next, he started making love to me. I was enjoying it. So the sight of Allison's body turns you on so much, I gasped. Then the next words came out. I may have to make you see her more often. After our lovemaking, we both collapsed on the bed, almost dressed, sweaty, and smelling of sex. Suddenly a thought struck me. I wonder how loud we had sex, I asked. Allison lived in the room next to ours. How embarrassing it would be if she heard us. Neither of us were ready for bed. We changed into our casual clothes and headed into the living room. I couldn't tell if we smelled like sex, but it didn't bother me. We walked into the living room. Allison was lying on the couch. It wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that she wasn't wearing one of my husband's shirts this time. She was wearing one of her own. It came to about the middle of her body. She was wearing cute shorts that showed her cheeks. I had to admit she looked adorable. Neither of us made a comment. I'm not sure what we could have said. She said hello as if nothing had changed. She moved over to make room for us on the couch. As she often did, she leaned against me. She smiled at me. That night I asked him what was wrong. He had no idea, as befits a man. Over the next week, this became the standard outfit for her to wear when she woke up or got ready for bed. Different t-shirts, some that didn't cover her and some that were half a torso lower. Always with cute shorts or bikini panties. Nothing else ever changed. One morning I was getting dressed. I was in just my underwear when I realized I forgot to turn on the coffee. I pulled on a t-shirt and went into the kitchen. Allison was there. Hi, she said. She looked at me and said, "These are much better than those shorts?" I just said thanks. We chatted for a while and I headed off to get dressed for work. I couldn't get what Allison had said out of my head. When I got to work, I texted my husband and told him what had happened. Then I asked, "Would you like me to be dressed as Allison tonight?" "Yes." Lol. You don't have to think about it? No. I ended with, "I love you." "I'm yours forever," he replied. That night was a perfectly ordinary dinner. After dinner, I went to change. I reached for my shorts. I looked in the mirror. I was wearing cute lace boy shorts. They were low on my hips and covered probably half of my body. I thought of Allison. Then I wondered why I had butterflies fluttering in my stomach and felt horny. I took off my bra and put on a comfortable tank top. Then I went into the living room. Allison was already there. "Oh my God, you look amazing," she said. "I wish I could be as beautiful as you." I assured her that she was beautiful. "What makes you think you're not beautiful?" "People don't look at me, they look at you. I was never the pretty girl in school. I was always kind of clumsy." "Well, you grew up pretty," I said. "Not really," she said. "Please don't be mad at me, but I was trying to get your husband to pay attention to me. I didn't want to steal him away. I just wanted a nice guy to notice me, and he won't even look." "Oh." "So that explained the change of clothes," I laughed. "Oh, trust me, he noticed." "How do you know?" she asked. "Because he made love to death to me every night after he met you." She started to cry. "I'm so sorry. I can move out tomorrow. Please don't hate me." "Hate you? I should be paying you." She looked up at me and smiled. She tilted her head and kissed me, not exactly on the lips, but close enough that it meant more than a kiss on the cheek. Then my husband walked in. He saw us on the couch, two women he thought were beautiful, in each other's arms, crying on the couch. He just stopped. He didn't say anything. Then, as if stammering, he said, "I can come back," and started to walk away. "What's the matter?" I said. "Two women in their underwear freak you out?" "Very much so," he said. It was funny. I loved watching him stutter. I braced myself, crossed my arms, and grabbed the hem of my t-shirt. In the most flirtatious voice I was capable of, I said, "We can take them off if you want." "That's it. I'm going to hide in our room." He turned to leave. "No, no, come back," we said, almost in unison. He looked at us skeptically. I patted the seat between me and Allison and said, "Sit down." He cautiously walked over and sat between us. He has great shoulders. We both put our heads on his chest. I reached across him and took Allison's hand. Our interlocked hands dropped into his lap. Suddenly it hit me. I knew where this was going. I can't say I'd never fantasized about being with a woman or some. I had. But they were fantasies. They were between me and my husband or me and my fingers. Here on the couch, however, sat real people who cared about each other. The next movement was mine. I could have stopped it or let it happen. My husband would never want to take advantage of someone else. He wouldn't make the first move. Allison wanted to do that. She looked at me eagerly with her beautiful blue eyes. I realized I wanted this too. I wanted to kiss this beautiful woman. I wanted to share my husband and I's love, even if just for one night, so she could see how deeply I loved him, that I could do this, let him do this, and love him even more, for it was something she needed to know. I moved my head to my husband's chest. Leaving her hand in his lap, I brought my palm to her cheek. I gently pulled her face to mine and kissed her, gently at first, then more and more insistently. We ended up kneeling on either side of my husband, kissing each other 3 inches from his face. He didn't know where to look or where to put his hands. I reached for Allison's shirt and pulled it down over her head. Then I took off mine. I turned to my husband and kissed him. I kissed his ear and whispered, "It's okay. I want it." I then brought Allison's lips to his and watched them kiss. I thought I would be jealous, but I wasn't. It was a beautiful, tender moment. In my heart, everything was right. As they kissed, I caressed her neck, her shoulders, and eventually made my way to her breasts. I let my fingers slide over her. She laid her head on my husband's chest while I played with her breasts. My husband didn't know where to put his hands. His hands moved down to both of our bodies and he began to caress them. Allison kissed him and said, "It's good under the material, too." I couldn't see what happened, but she smiled at me and said, "Much better." She leaned on his lap and put her hands on my shoulders. She kissed me and said, "Tell him more." I looked at him and nodded. Suddenly she inhaled sharply. I realized his hands had found her body. We turned to my husband and pulled off his shirt. We kissed his neck, his shoulders, down his stomach to the waistband of his shorts. We slid off the couch on either side of him. We grabbed his shorts and pulled them down. Allison laughed and said, "Me first." And so it happened. My husband looked at me again, but I took his hand and smiled encouragingly. "Let it happen," I said. He closed his eyes and let it happen. Next, my husband started having sex with Allison. Between the two of us, he passed out. I could see his body spasming. After that, we lay like that for a while, and finally I said, "Let's go to bed." I took their hands and led them to our bed. We fell asleep in each other's arms. I wish I could say that we had sex all night or that it turned into night after night. But it didn't. It brought us closer together. But that need to be loved that night was no longer there. She knew she was loved. Soon after that, she got her own apartment. We still talk all the time, and you never know when the mood will be right for all of us. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.